In the vast skies above China, a new force has emerged, not a roaring fighter jet or a missile slicing through the air, but something far more calculated and transformative. A flying colossus has risen, not in noise but in significance. It's not just a machine, it's a statement. The world knows it as the Jiatan SSUAV, a drone mothership capable of launching over 100 autonomous drones in a single coordinated strike, while military analysts across the West label it a threat and scramble to decipher its implications. Far from Beijing, in the heart of Africa, another nation watches this development not with fear, but with hope. Burkina Faso, under the resolute leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré, doesn't see an invasion in the sky, it sees opportunity. Gone are the days when Burkina Faso begged foreign powers for protection. Traoré's vision is clear: Africa must build its own shield, powered by its people and defended on its own terms. His leadership has sparked more than political change, it has ignited a mindset shift. While Western powers quietly panic over China's technological advancements, Traoré sees a partner, not a master. He sees a future where the skies above Ouagadougou are safeguarded not by NATO or the UN, but by African-built drones launched from African-designed motherships. The Jiatan is no ordinary aircraft. The 6-ton airborne platform flies at altitudes of 50,000 feet, has a range of 7,000 kilometers, and can deploy eye-guided drones for reconnaissance, precision strikes, or surveillance. It's a flying command center, a fortress in the clouds, and in the hands of a sovereign African state, it becomes much more than a weapon, it becomes a symbol. Imagine extremist convoys weaving through the remote stretches of the Sahel, only to be neutralized within moments by swarms of locally piloted drones. No more waiting for Western authorization, no more dependency, just swift, sovereign action. But the story doesn't end in the skies. On the ground, the change is even more profound. Young Burkinabe engineers are learning to build, not just operate, this technology. In partnership with Chinese experts, they're gaining hands-on experience in robotics, aerospace design, AI systems, and advanced propulsion. These aren't just job trainings, they're blueprints for a new era, real tech transfer, not empty promises, real sovereignty, not rented power. Under Traoré's leadership, Burkina Faso is rapidly becoming the first African country with a comprehensive drone swarm defense program, and it's not stopping there. Plans are quietly being drafted for an entirely African-made drone mothership, a machine born from African soil, assembled by local hands, powered by local minds, a fortress in the sky that doesn't just defend, it inspires. While Western commentators scoff at the idea, calling it slow, too large, or impractical, they miss the real story. This isn't about stealth or speed, it's about autonomy. It's about breaking the old rules, that Africa must always remain a consumer of global defense, never a producer. That sovereignty must always come with strings, that protection must always be borrowed. Traoré is tearing up that script. Since coming to power, he has expelled foreign troops, reclaimed Burkina Faso's natural resources, and charted a new course, one that leans not toward old colonial masters, but toward equal partners. Moscow was the first stop. Now, all eyes are on Beijing. With every step, Burkina Faso moves closer to achieving what many once considered impossible: full aerial sovereignty. Imagine this: in the heart of Burkina Faso, a cutting-edge aerospace facility rises. Inside, teams of engineers, most under 35, design, code, and test the very systems that will redefine Africa's role in global defense. These engineers aren't operating under foreign flags. They're building something distinctly their own. They're not just defending their land, they're shaping its destiny. Military doctrine is changing too. Burkinabe forces are training in swarm tactics, signal disruption, and AI-driven targeting. Universities are launching new programs in drone warfare and electronic defense. Children once taught to dream of escape are now dreaming of aerospace careers. This is more than a tech upgrade. It's a national awakening. And others are taking notice. Mali, Niger, Guinea, even Eritrea have quietly signaled interest in joint training and regional drone coordination. The Sahel, once a region defined by instability, may soon become a model for autonomous, interconnected African defense. No more outsourced security. No more dependence. A united shield rising from within. But with every step forward, resistance grows. Western powers are already tightening their grip. Sanctions are quietly being prepared. Media outlets launch subtle smear campaigns. Intelligence reports label Burkina Faso a strategic disruptor. And then the sabotage begins. A Chinese cargo, flight carrying critical drone parts, is suddenly denied airspace. Weeks later, cyber attacks hit Burkina Faso's energy grid. Traoré knows exactly what's happening. The enemies of African independence have made their move. But he's ready. He accelerates the timeline. The Mothership project, once months from testing, is fast-tracked. Engineers work day and night. Construction teams pour concrete for a hidden hangar near Koudougou. And then, a message is sent to Beijing. The Mothership is our ark. Will you sail with us or stand back and watch us sink? Beijing, facing its own pressures, must now decide. But one thing is clear: they're not just dealing with a buyer. They're dealing with a movement. As the final system checks are completed, a quiet tension settles over the command center. Young men and women Burkinabe to the bone sit behind glowing consoles. Outside, the giant prototype Enzinga 1 prepares for takeoff, and at the edge of the base, Captain Traoré stands alone, watching. His message has never been louder. Africa will no longer wait. It will no longer bow. It will build. And when the engines roar to life, the sky is no longer just a backdrop. It becomes a battlefield, a promise, and a path forward. And then, Enzinga 1 lifted into the skies. Across Burkina Faso, thousands flooded the streets, their faces turned upward in awe and emotion, some cheering, some weeping, others falling to their knees in prayer. This wasn't just a flight. It was the embodiment of a promise fulfilled. For generations, Africa had been told what it could not achieve. But now, a machine born of African ingenuity, guided by Chinese partnership, powered by unshakable will, was soaring over the Sahel. Enzinga 1, a 6-ton drone mothership equipped with 120 autonomous, AI-armed drones, flew not just for Burkina Faso, but for an entire continent, long silenced, now speaking through thunder in the sky. Each drone on board had a mission: protect the people, defend the land, reclaim the sky. From global capitals to military headquarters, the world watched, some in admiration, others in rising dread. Within hours, international headlines erupted. Burkina Faso destabilizes region. Rogue state deploys armed drones. The United Nations called an emergency meeting. NATO issued warnings. France, most vocal of all, decried the launch as a violation of international aerial warfare norms rules they themselves had ignored during past interventions in Libya, Mali, and beyond. But Traoré didn't flinch. He stood tall before the cameras at a global press conference, his voice fierce and resolute. We've been bombed, betrayed, belittled. Today, we say enough. We will not ask for permission to protect our children. His words echoed not only across Burkina Faso, but throughout Africa. From Lagos to Johannesburg, people rallied in solidarity. Artists painted Enzinga on walls. Students chanted his name. Civil society groups across the continent demanded their own governments recognize Burkina Faso's right to self-defense. But celebration was brief. Within 48 hours, cyberattacks crippled Burkina Faso's air traffic systems. Unidentified drones appeared near the northern border and struck civilian targets without warning. Western governments denied involvement, yet independent satellite data revealed otherwise. It was retaliation, cold and calculated. A psychological strike aimed at shaking the foundation before the mothership could cement its role. Traoré's intelligence services quickly uncovered sabotage efforts from within foreign-funded NGOs, disrupting logistics, diplomats attempting to bribe key commanders, disinformation flooding social media. The threat wasn't just external. It had already infiltrated the heart of the revolution. But instead of sowing fear, it fueled unity. Volunteers flooded enlistment centers. Farmers delivered truckloads of food to sustain troops. Students launched cyber counteroffensives, disabling bot networks and exposing foreign propaganda. Enzinga 1 was no longer just a military asset. It had become a beacon, a rallying cry for a generation that refused to bow. Soon, drone fleets from Mali, Niger, and Guinea rose to fly in formation alongside Enzinga. For the first time in history, a Pan-African air defense coalition emerged, built not in foreign embassies, but forged in African skies by nations reclaiming their future. The West panicked. French naval ships shifted positions in the Gulf of Guinea. U.S. military advisors were quietly deployed to neighboring states. Under the guise of maintaining stability, covert operations were greenlit. Their goal: destabilize Traoré's base, fracture the alliance, and reclaim influence. But the more they pushed, the more unified the continent became. Even nations once skeptical, Sudan, Zimbabwe, Tanzania, began to show cautious support. From these whispers grew a new diplomatic force, the Sovereign Skies Alliance. Its mission, etched into a founding declaration, was simple and revolutionary. Every African nation shall control its own airspace. No foreign bases, no imposed treaties, only freedom, guarded by African skies. Still, Traoré understood the cost of such a dream. Assassination plots multiplied, economic sanctions but deeper. The African Union, under Western pressure, threatened to suspend Burkina Faso once again. Yet Traoré did not retreat. He moved among his people unguarded. If I must fall, he told his inner circle, then let it be standing in the sun, not hiding in the dark. Let the world see this dream doesn't die with me. And so the lines were drawn. One mothership hovered above. A continent watched below. The storm was no longer coming, it had arrived. But the cracks didn't come from missiles. They came from within. Late one night, a senior official from a neighboring state held a secret meeting with a Western diplomat. Days later, Mali's drone fleet abruptly withdrew from joint missions. In Niger, bases closed their doors to Burkinabe engineers with no explanation. Betrayal had begun to corrode the alliance from inside. Yet the vision endured, because Enzinga was never just steel and circuitry. It was a message loud and unrelenting that Africa no longer needed permission to rise. Some traitors were exposed, others remained hidden. But Traoré accepted that betrayal is part of every revolution worth fighting, and he pressed on, not for glory, but for legacy. At the newly built African Aerospace Command in Ouagadougou, young engineer Samberli, out of university, saluted him. Some called him the father of the skies. He only smiled gently and said, "I am no father. I am a bridge. Walk across me, then build your own." Outside, 6 more motherships were under construction, each one named not after generals or guns, but after African heroes: Lumumba, Sankara, Biko, Nkrumah, Mariama, Mandela. The past was no longer buried. It flew proudly. But then, a final crisis emerged. A coup erupted in a neighboring state, a Western-backed plot designed to cut off trade routes and isolate Burkina Faso. Traoré's advisors urged military intervention, but he chose a different path. Instead of launching drones to strike, Enzinga 1 rose into the sky. Its mission, not war, but truth. High-powered projectors broadcast live images of the coup, the mercenaries, the foreign fingerprints across the region. The people saw it all. Within days, the regime collapsed, not through bombs, but through exposure. A coup defeated not by fire, but by light. The African Union reconvened, this time, not to scold, but to listen. Traoré was offered leadership of a new continental vision. He declined. Instead, he nominated a 28-year-old Burkinabe woman, the same young engineer who wrote Enzinga 1's AI protocol, to lead the future of African sky defense. The torch passed not to power, but to purpose. And so, Traoré stepped back, not from the struggle, but from the spotlight. He walked the streets once more, alone and fearless. His mission was never about one man. It was about a continent believing in itself. In the closing scene, 6 motherships hover in formation. Children wave from rooftops, elders close their eyes. In prayer, soldiers salute with tears in their eyes. Somewhere in the mountains, those who once terrorized with impunity now tremble, because for the first time, they know Africa controls the skies. A young child looks up and asks, "Will we always be free now?" An elder replies, "We are free not because of these machines. We are free because we chose to believe." The camera lifts skyward. Africa is no longer cast in shadows. It is seen in full light, unified, unshakable, and unlimited. This was never the end. It was the beginning. Africa has taken flight, and it is never coming down.